everyone, it's Julia. I have a couple pieces of foam that is just scraps and I hate to waste it. So I'm going to be creating a little notebook cover. And I have in my outer my lining fabric. Also has some silk ribbon and then these hair ties. I'm going to use these hair ties for closures. I'm just figuring out which one I need here that I like the best. I will link all my products that I'm using down below for you, just down below in the description. I'm going to head to my sewing machine first, and I am going to be using a multi-stitch zigzag just to get that little elastic securely on there. Now I have this is a single-sided foam or adhesive foam, and so one side is not adhesive, so I am putting some glue stick on that side. This is going to be my lining, and just giving that a quick press to get that glue, just to speed up the drawing process. Now this side does have that adhesive, and so I'm just going to iron that on. And I want to add some quilt lines to this, so I'm using my heat erase pen and just doing a diagonal line. I'm switching my foot to this even feed foot or a walking foot, and I'm just going to be using my seam gauge. There's a little hole that I'm just sticking that in. The first line is going to be stitched right on that line that I marked. When I do this, I usually have my stitch length a little bit longer. Now the second line, I adjusted that seam gauge, so that seam gauge is right on that line, and this is going to just make all my diagonal lines even. Love how the quilting looks on a piece of foam. I just love that puffy look it gives. When I have that all done, I want to remove that marking with just touching it with an iron. And now I want to embellish this top. And I've already kind of did a little fabric collage with I cut out some of the elements of the fabric, and the little stain says "Stay true to your heart." Now this fabric with these sayings on is discontinued, but every time I go into a quilt shop or sewing or any place with fabric, I always look for fabric with sayings because I like to add them to my projects. And this is 100% cotton canvas that I'm working on here, and I've ripped it so it's frayed. I love working with this canvas because I don't have to use anything underneath it. It just sews really well. Back to my sewing machine, and I am going to free motion stitch this on. I'm raising my bobbin thread, and I'm having a hard time grabbing it there. But once it's grabbed, I'm just going to do a couple stitches and then cut my thread. I get asked sometimes why I don't always bring up my bobbin thread and why sometimes I do. If you can see my work underneath, like you're going to on the back of this case, of this little notebook cover, I always bring up my bobbin thread because I don't want a little nest or a little mess that the bobbin sometimes makes. So then I bring it up, otherwise I don't. I want to outline this and just add some little doodling, just some detail in some of these little petals or leaves. That's what I love about free motion stitching. You'll see right here I'm going to just add some sticks or just some little, I don't know what you call them, but little doodles. I do have dark brown thread on that since it's an all-purpose thread, and in my bobbin I do have a white bobbin thread, which is a little bit lighter weight. And then to go around this phrase, I just doodle in the corners, just do a little squiggle in the corners. And now I'm just going to do a border on this. And I'm not trying to be straight. I'm just doing a wavy line. and then going over it twice, and I am not trying to get on the line. I like the intertwined look that this gives. Just adds a nice little border. There, and that's all done. I switched my foot again to my regular sewing foot, and I'm going to finish the edge of this with this ribbon. And I press that ribbon just right on, it's not on top, but it's on the edge or the side of this little notebook. And I have and I'm zigzagging. I have a wider zigzag. I think I have like a 6.5 that I'm working on right now. But if yours only goes up to a 5, that'll work just as well. And I'm just going around the corners. The corners get to look like they're more of a rounded corner, which is fine. It just has a nice finish to it. This is like the easiest little fabric cover that you can, I mean, it just goes together so well. And when I get to the end, I am going to just do a couple back stitches with my zigzag. And then I added another piece of that ribbon for where my pages are going to go. I just tied that at the bottom, real easy. I want to add a button now, and I don't have any buttons with shanks, and so I'm using a flat button, but I am going to create a thread shank. I don't know if you ever have done this. My mom taught me how to do this years ago. I just have an extra needle that I laid across there, if you can see it. You can use a toothpick too. And I'm just doing my thread on one side of the button of the needle and then going down the other side, just to add a space between the button and the project. And removing that now I've got that space. And so I'm going to just take my extra thread and just wrap it several times around. And that's just going to form a thread shank. And I can just tie my needle off, or my thread off. And I'm going to stick my needle in between the layers and travel about a 1/2 inch or so away, and then clip that thread. And it's finished. I'm just going to add some quick pages. I decided to use this. It's the copy paper. It's 5 different colors. I'm going to link this down below too. It's lasted me a long time. I use it a lot just because they're just whimsical, and it kind of fits my stuff. So I have used it a lot. This is going to be completely undecorated little notebook. I'll probably sell these at my summer shop, and I want to keep the price down, so I'm just gonna use this fun paper, and I'm not gonna add anything to it. Just gonna quickly fold them and then join them together, or just to form one signature. I'm not even gonna pamphlet stitch these. I'm just gonna slip them underneath this ribbon. Going to be a little bit too wide for my book, so I'm going to mark where I need to do some more trimming. My favorite way to do any trimming with paper, like any kind of thing like this, is just using a metal ruler, and then a break off or snap utility knife, making sure that blade is sharp. And then, yeah, it's just really simple. And then sliding it underneath. Just doing a little quick readjusting there. And I made several of them. I do have some pictures at the end. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. Great way to use up some scraps. Bye for now.